Pandora. Today, when we hear her name, the first thing that comes to mind is that famous box. We even use the expression opening Pandora's box in everyday life. But what really happened that made Pandora's name forever associated with the release of all the world's evils? For centuries, many people have blamed Pandora for the disasters that befell humanity. But was she truly the one at fault? Or was she merely a pawn in a far greater plan devised by the gods? To understand that, we must return to the very beginning, to one of the oldest legends in Greek mythology. Pandora's story does not begin with her alone. In fact, its roots stretch back to the earliest Greek myths, to the age of the Titans, the Olympian gods, and even the parents of the gods themselves. At the center of this story are two Titan brothers, Prometheus and Epimetheus. By Zeus's command, the two brothers were given an important task. They were to populate the world with living creatures. At that time, humanity consisted only of men. Women did not yet exist. Prometheus loved the humans he had shaped with his own hands. He took great pride in them and did everything he could to make their lives easier. He was even willing to anger Zeus for their sake. Wanting humanity to grow stronger, Prometheus began sharing the knowledge possessed by the gods with them. He taught them not only how to live, but also how to survive. To Zeus, however, this meant that humans were becoming far too powerful. Then an important gathering was held, attended by both the gods and the Titans. During this meeting, it was decided which portions of the sacrifices offered by humans would belong to the gods, and which would remain for mankind. Prometheus had devised a clever plan. He did not want humans to surrender all the food they had worked so hard to obtain to the gods. So he slaughtered an ox and divided it into two separate portions. Into the first portion he placed only the bones, but covered them with a thick layer of bright, gleaming white fat to make them look rich and appetizing. Into the second portion he placed all of the meat, but this time he concealed it beneath the ox's stomach, making it appear far less appealing. When it was Zeus's turn to choose, the myths say that he actually recognized the deception. Even so, he deliberately chose the impressive-looking pile covered in fat. When the bones were revealed beneath it, his anger only grew stronger. From that moment on, he decreed that humanity should no longer possess fire and withheld it from them. But Prometheus could not bear to see humanity left helpless in darkness. Secretly, he went to Hephaestus's forge, stole fire from the gods, and brought it back to mankind. This act, though seemingly small, would forever change humanity's destiny and draw upon Prometheus the unending wrath of Zeus. For Zeus, this was the final straw. Prometheus stealing fire from the gods and giving it to humanity was something that could never be forgiven. His actions were a direct challenge to Zeus's authority. Worse still, humans were no longer merely surviving. With the gift of fire, they were advancing, creating, and growing stronger. Zeus had no intention of letting this go unpunished. Prometheus was captured and chained to a massive rock atop a towering mountain. But the punishment he endured was far from ordinary. Every day a gigantic eagle would descend and tear apart his liver, devouring it piece by piece. Because Prometheus was immortal, his liver regenerated each night, forcing him to endure the same unbearable agony again the following day. It is said that he suffered this torment not for a day or even a year, but for centuries. At last, when the great hero Heracles happened to pass that way, he freed Prometheus from his endless torture. By then, Zeus's anger had largely subsided, and he did not stand in the way of Heracles releasing him. But Zeus's revenge was far from complete. Punishing Prometheus alone was not enough. Humanity too would have to pay the price for what had been done. And this is where Pandora's story truly begins. Zeus summoned Hephaestus, the master blacksmith of Olympus and its greatest craftsman. He ordered him to create a woman of unparalleled beauty, a woman so breathtaking that neither god nor mortal would be able to look away from her. Hephaestus was more than a master of metalwork. He was also an extraordinary sculptor capable of creating flawless masterpieces. Using earth and water, he fashioned the form of a young woman. According to legend, Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty, inspired him as he created this remarkable work. When the statue was complete, Zeus breathed the breath of life into it, and thus Pandora opened her eyes to the world. But Pandora's beauty was not what made her truly extraordinary. One by one, the gods of Olympus bestowed their own gifts upon her, each adding a different quality to her character. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, taught her how to sew, weave, and master all the skills that were considered essential for women of that era. Aphrodite granted her extraordinary beauty, elegance, and a charm that neither gods nor mortals could easily resist. Hermes, the messenger god, gifted Pandora with a sharp intellect, but along with it, he also gave her a clever tongue, one capable of persuasion and, when necessary, deception. It was Hermes who later gave her the name Pandora. The meaning of her name is quite remarkable. In Greek, Pan means all, while Dora means gift. Thus, Pandora's name means the one endowed with all gifts, or she who possesses every gift. Some versions of the myth say that the other gods also offered her gifts. Poseidon presented her with a pearl necklace so that she would never drown at sea. Apollo taught her how to play the lyre and sing with a beautiful voice. Yet one of the most significant gifts came from Zeus himself. According to certain accounts, Zeus gave Pandora a nature inclined to act without thinking, a playful spirit, and an insatiable curiosity. And finally, there was Hera. She was the one who bestowed the gift that would change the course of the entire story. Hera planted within Pandora a curiosity so powerful that it would become almost impossible for her to resist. Because Zeus's true plan had been clear from the very beginning, into Pandora's hands was placed a mysterious vessel, lavishly decorated with golden ornaments. As Zeus entrusted it to her, he imposed only one condition. No matter what happens, you must never open it. And with those few words, the events that would forever change the course of human history were set into motion. The final step in Zeus's plan was to send Pandora into the world of humans. He presented her to Epimetheus, the brother of Prometheus, as a gift. You remember Epimetheus, don't you? At the beginning of the story, he was the Titan who, alongside Prometheus, had been entrusted with helping create humanity. Although his name does not appear frequently in Greek mythology, he holds a crucial place in the legend of Pandora. In truth, Prometheus had warned his brother long before this. He had told him never to accept any gift from Zeus. He knew Zeus well. No matter how generous Zeus might appear on the surface, Prometheus understood that every gift he offered concealed another purpose. The moment Epimetheus saw Pandora, he was captivated. Her beauty left him utterly spellbound. In that instant, every warning he had ever received vanished from his mind. Before long, he fell deeply in love with Pandora and without the slightest hesitation decided to marry her. Pandora, too, stepped into a new life at Epimetheus's side, as though she had been born anew. When their wedding day arrived, Hermes came down from Olympus to join the celebration. Naturally, he did not come empty-handed. He brought with him Zeus's message and his gifts. Hermes explained that Pandora had been sent as a gesture of Zeus's goodwill. He even claimed that it was a sign that the old hostility between Zeus and Prometheus had finally come to an end. But that was not all. Hermes also presented Pandora with the magnificent vessel that Zeus had sent as a wedding gift. Epimetheus accepted Hermes' words without the slightest doubt. Yet this was precisely what Prometheus had warned him about years before. In fact, even Epimetheus's name reflects his character. It means the one who thinks afterward, or the one who understands only after it is too late. For this reason, he is often regarded as a symbol of regret and hindsight. What lay inside the vessel entrusted to Pandora was known only to Zeus. Today, we all refer to it as Pandora's box. But there is an interesting detail. In the ancient Greek texts, the object in question was not actually a box, but a large jar or amphora. The expression Pandora's box became widespread centuries later through translations and has remained the familiar name ever since. Zeus had imprisoned all of humanity's suffering inside that vessel. Diseases, wars, unending sorrow, famine, the pains of childbirth and death. In short, everything that could make human life difficult was sealed inside that vessel. Pandora was told only one thing. She must never open it under any circumstances. At first, she remained faithful to that command. But as the days passed, the curiosity growing within her became stronger and stronger. Why had Zeus warned her so firmly? What was really inside? Day after day, she asked herself the same questions. In the end, her curiosity overcame her. Pandora slowly lifted the lid. She intended only to open it slightly, just enough to satisfy her curiosity with a quick glance. But that single, fleeting moment marked the beginning of an irreversible disaster. Invisible forces of darkness burst out of the vessel and shot into the sky. Disease, suffering, fear, and every calamity destined for humanity scattered across the world. Realizing what had happened, Pandora slammed the lid shut in sheer panic, but it was already too late. Almost all the evils contained within had escaped into the world. Only one thing had not made it out. The very last thing resting at the bottom of the vessel was hope. That is why human life would never be the same again. There would be pain, there would be disease, there would be loss, and there would be tears. Yet despite all of this, there was one thing that humanity would never lose: hope. Perhaps that is the very reason this legend has endured for centuries without ever being forgotten. With Pandora opening the vessel, humanity's peaceful and carefree existence came to an end. There was now disease, suffering, and death. For the first time, mankind truly began to face the hardships of existence. According to some versions of the myth, the evils released into the world eventually grew so overwhelming that Zeus decided humanity had become completely corrupt. As a result, he resolved to cleanse the earth with a great flood. But not everyone would survive that catastrophe. Pandora and Epimetheus had a daughter. Her name was Pyrrha. Pandora had no mother or father, for she had been created directly by the gods. Yet despite this, she would be remembered as the mother of the first mortal woman. Pyrrha later married Deucalion, the son of Prometheus. Thus the paths of the two cousins became united. According to Greek mythology, very few people survived the great flood sent by Zeus. Deucalion and Pyrrha were among the fortunate few who endured the catastrophe. After the flood had ended, they followed the guidance of the gods and threw stones over their shoulders. The stones cast by Deucalion became men, while those thrown by Pyrrha became women. In this way, humanity began to multiply once again. For this reason, many versions of the myth regard Deucalion and Pyrrha as the ancestors of the new human race. Pandora's story did not remain merely a myth. One of the most familiar expressions we still use today was born from this very legend. Whenever we want to describe an event that will lead to irreversible and far-reaching problems, we say someone has opened Pandora's box. because just as Pandora did, a single decision can sometimes set off a chain of unexpected consequences. But this legend is not only about disaster. It is no coincidence that the last thing left inside the vessel was hope. Perhaps this is what the ancient Greek were trying to tell us. No matter how great a person's suffering may be, as long as they do not lose hope, they can always rise again. There is another fascinating detail. In fact, in the ancient Greek text, the object Pandora, opened, was not a box at all, but a large jar. The expression Pandora's box, now known throughout the world, became popular in the 16th century thanks to the interpretation of the Dutch humanist and theologian Erasmus of Rotterdam, while translating Hesiod's works into Latin. From that time on, the name Pandora's box spread across the world and has remained in common use ever since. Like many other Greek myths, the legend of Pandora was passed down orally for centuries before it was ever written down. For that reason, there's no single definitive version that has survived to the present day. Instead, many different versions of the same story emerged in different regions. Some sources even claim that Pandora's original name was Anesidora. The name means she who brings gifts, or the bearer of gifts. Other versions suggest that Zeus did not send Pandora merely to punish humanity, but to prove that the Olympian gods were just as capable as Prometheus of creating flawless works. According to yet another interpretation, Pandora herself is never truly evil. What transforms her into a tragic figure are the qualities the gods bestowed upon her and the inescapable destiny they set before her. That is why seeing Pandora only as the cause of all evil may be an oversimplification of this ancient legend, because this is not merely the story of a vessel being opened. It is the story of curiosity, choice, consequences, and the determination to hold on to hope despite every hardship. If you enjoyed this journey and would like to continue exploring mythological stories like this together, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and give this video a like. Until the next legend, take care and goodbye.